Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, episode number 423. On deck, we'll be catching up with JD, Laurine, and Steven Sickles here this evening. Merry Christmas to everybody, and Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us here on a Tuesday night. JD Laurine is joining us here on the line. We had the news shake out last week when we were talking with Mark Elliott about the updates and some of the changes and some of the twists that were coming along with the Unified Points Series in 2023. And now JD Laurine, the defending champion from this past season, had Santa Claus drop off a whole bunch of Crown Vics at his house, which is sort of a telltale sign that he's got some plans for 2023. And JD's on the line now. And I guess my first question, JD, was what do you think about how things have changed for the Unified Point Series? And is the load of Crown Vics that are sitting at your house all destined for Unified Point Series shows?
I haven't actually got a chance to really look at things too much.
Yeah.
But, we have been stocked on a lot of Crown Vics. They're going to get hard to find one day, and I don't plan on running out of them anytime soon.
Are they really going to become hard to find one day, or are they just going to be sort of along the same lines as, I don't know, like maybe a Malibu or some of those mid-sized GMs, which are around, but nobody values them quite the same way as they have like a round back or a mid-70s full-size Caprice two-door or 225, where they're around, just nobody wants to prioritize them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they're going to get hard to find one day. We go down south and get them. They're actually starting to get a little bit harder to find down that way. But I think we got right around 25 to 30 of them so far.
And you added another half dozen this winter, right?
What's that?
You added another half dozen or so of them this winter?
Yeah, we got a bunch of them.
Nice. So, congratulations on the season, of course, and hopefully everything went well for you and the family over the Christmas holiday here as we roll into the new year here this coming weekend. Without having a chance to look at the schedule, at least at this point, you're sort of prepared. Last time we talked was the middle of July in 2022 when you had ended up scoring a big win and moved into that points lead. And it was a situation that you never relinquished that points lead. It certainly would be neat to see you out there and give it a run to take that second consecutive championship. No one's won two. No one's ever doubled up or anything along those lines. So there's certainly some bragging rights to be found there, but with the way things have changed in terms of the bonus points for the member drivers, the bonus points if you run Heats Conce feature, there's some twists and turns to it this year, and it's going to be a shorter schedule than what we saw in years past as well. So without pinning you down too much on trying to answer questions that aren't fair because you don't know what the schedule is going to look like. Have you had the opportunity to sort of reflect on what the year past was like and what it took to accomplish that, and if it's something that you would even want to do again with the amount of time investment and car investment and build time that you've got invested?
The call dropped twice.
Okay. All right. So JD, he ended up with a ton of stuff falling in his favor. Ended up taking away the ring. Ended up taking away the overall banner and the championship there in the Unified Point Series championship chase. And with the changes that they had for the season, there's now 2 bonus points on the line for any driver that is a registered member. They're going to do that purge like we had talked about back in the incremental thirds of the season. So anybody who's not a member driver that may have gotten on the points ledger is going to be removed from it unless they buy in after a certain point leading into, I think it was the May cutoff was the first third, and then August was the second third. So you've got a couple different factors at play there. Are people going to try to bank some points and see where they land? You see that a lot in modified racing, circle track racing. People will try a bunch of different racetracks and see how things are going to work, and whatever track they sort of hit the hot hand with, they'll end up dedicating the season and staying there. Most times, year in and year out, the defending champions and the top runners will stay at the home tracks. But every now and then, you see somebody that might get hot at Utica Rome from here and go run there until the flame fizzles out and they end up investing their time back at Land of Legends or someplace else, a little bit closer to home with Utica Rome moving to a Friday now. So it's sort of the same thing that we've talked about on the point side of things. The Unified Point Series had a number of drivers that fared well early on, and they kind of said, well, maybe, at best, maybe. And I think Ty Richards was one of those drivers that ended up running a couple of shows early on to try and build some momentum, but the lead did never really come to pass the way that he sort of expected it to. And then eventually we saw him tail off, and we saw a couple other drivers. Bill Miller was one of them. They jumped up there, and he made a bid for that top spot for a little while, but I don't think he ever really planned on running the full schedule. It just happened to be that the events were falling close to home. JD, however, once he got out in front, he ended up invested the time, much as we saw last year, Steven Sickles doing the same thing, invested the time and made the hard run at that championship and ended up, it paid off for him. I think some of the other wild cards that we might see out there, which we kind of addressed last week, was Cam Penwell, some of the youth movement, Scotty Drevenak Jr. He's certainly going to be a force to reckon with. As he runs his program, you could see a number of drivers have some different fortunes this year because there's not going to be the massive 28 event schedule out there. It's going to be probably closer to the low 20s instead of having and by reducing that by 6, that could change things dramatically. If anybody wanted to, I'm sure Mark Elliott would let you go through and calculate what the projected points would be on the schedule from last year, this year, given what that rundown was looking like. Just taking a quick peek at the clock and seeing where we're at with JD, if we've got JD back yet. We do have a break that we're going to try and queue up, tell you a little bit about some of the folks that were supporting us while we get JD back on the line, and we'll be right back.
Smash Demolition Derby wants to say thanks out to all the drivers, the dozens of partners, the fairs and staff, everybody that made 2022 a successful season. Looking ahead, Smash is going to be at the annual SMW Motorsports Expo and the promoter meetings for plans for 2023 as they come together for classes, rules, fairs, and all the updates and everything. You can visit SmashDemolitionDerby.com online. Before we get into the county fair season, however, they do have Capital City Carnage waiting in the wings. Street Stock Weld class is going to be 5 one-and-dones, 5,000 to win, March 3rd and 4th at the Stormont Vale Event Center in Topeka, Kansas. Thursday is going to be heat draws at 7 o'clock. Heat draws start at 7 on Thursday. Friday and Saturday, the pits open at 9:30. Limited Weld is going to be a 10,000 to win show. Weld Compacts, 2,500 to win. Two-man extreme class, front-wheel drive hobo, front-wheel drive minivan hobo, and front-wheel drive youth hobo are all paying 2,500 to win. All the times are, all the start times are in the Central Time Zone. It's only going to be streamed on DerbyNation.tv. Additional details for Capital City Carnage, March 3rd and 4th, are online at SmashItDerby.com. You can also find out more about the Bash for Cash, that gigantic outdoor show, May 26th, 27th, and 28th at the Ross County Fairgrounds in Chillicothe, Ohio. Big format change is going to be the 3-man Pro Stocks, 30,000 to win. Smash It Full Size paying 10,000 to win. Smash It Minis 10,000 to win. All the one-and-dones 2,500 to win. Friday 7 o'clock start time. 3-man Pro Stock Team Heats. Pits open at 8 o'clock. Saturday 3 o'clock start for the Power Wheels. 4 o'clock is the Pro Stock Team Constellations and the Smash It Mini Heat. Street Stock Full Size. Smith Metalworks Youth Full Size. Street Stock Minivan and SUV. Frank the Tank 70s Wire Class. Smash It Full Size caps the night. Pits open at 8 a.m. Sunday 1 o'clock start for Championship Day. Smash It Minis Constellation Round Youth Mini. Street Stock Mini, the Relic Class. The Smash It Mini feature. Then the 3-man Pro Stock Team feature. Pits open at 8 o'clock. Again, all the details on Bash for Cash and everything to do with Smash It Demolition Derby is available online at SmashItDerby.com.
Jeffy's Fab Farm in Fredericksburg, Virginia specializes in all of your demolition derby needs. We've got you covered from bumper to bumper. Whether you need headers, shifters, harnesses, fueling systems, or complete turnkey setups, Jeffy'sFabFarm.com can help. We've even got a Canadian branch to help our northern customers. With over 16 years in the industry, we've got the knowledge and experience needed to provide the highest quality parts and put you in the winner's circle. Visit our website today or call Jeff at 540-907-3390. Fabby says the best parts come from the farm. Jeffy'sFabFarm.com.
And the 2022 season is in the books for the Hardcore Derby Promotions team. That's a wrap on 2022. Thanks so much to the fans, the drivers, the crews, everybody. They have had all sorts of polls and discussion on ongoing dialogue on Frankie Guy's very busy page and also the Hardcore Maine Facebook page, looking ahead to the annual Smith Metalworks Derby Expo and spring meetings. Again, they're going to be looking at having a bunch of shows on the Unified Point Series in 2023. Find out more about the rules, the classes, and everything going on with Hardcore Derby Promotions on their Facebook page, or check out hardcorederbypromotions.com.
All right, and we are back, still trying to corral J.D. Laurine and see if we can get him into the Zoom meeting here so that we can talk with him a little bit about the season. He had a lot of folks helping to make it happen. He wanted to give them due credit as well, but I know he's got a dinner that he's got to get off to. And if we can get him, we will bring him on. We will go from there. And then Steven Sickles, we're going to be talking with Steven Sickles here in a few minutes as well, talking with him about kind of recapping the season and where things are at for him and his intentions. And it looked a lot like he was the one that was going to be the first one in line to ink up and say, hey, I'm doing the whole thing next year. He was one of the first drivers, and I think the opening salvo was 14 drivers committing to the duration of the season, which is pretty good when you consider that that's a major, major change. And all those drivers are going to be getting a T-shirt with the member drivers' names and such and the like, and on all of the apparel. And then also Mark alluded to being able to give a guy that's got some hard luck or something like that, maybe be able to slip them a gas card or something to help cover some of their travel and everything as the season goes on, which is always a good situation. There's a lot of tracks that have tried that around here in terms of the circle track stuff, and the issue that you run into is that the same guy is always getting the hard luck award or something because it's a buddy or this, that, or the other thing, and it's never a good look when everybody starts complaining about the giveaways. It starts taking away from the sponsors and stuff. But the Unified Point Series reaches such a footprint that I don't think they're going to be seeing the same drivers all the time necessarily with that hard luck situation anyway, because it's going as far west as I think they've got some shows in Illinois this year, as far east as Pennsylvania and Maryland, and as far south as Florida, and as far north as New York. So there's certainly a vast driver pool that are going to be at some of those events just to see if they can throw their hat in the ring for that points chase. We're going to give a direct phone call into JD, see if we can catch up with JD. JD, have we got you?
I can hear you now.
All right, so we'll go with that for the moment. JD, I appreciate you making some time for us. I know you got some stuff that you got to get to, and I told you we would get you out of here by 6:30 so that you get on your way. But I know the big thing that you want to do is make a note of all the equipment and everything that made the season happen for you. We'll try to reconvene at another time to talk about the other stuff, but I wanted to give you at least the opportunity to acknowledge the folks that helped make the season work for you.
All right. I like to thank Jeff Collier. I run his engines. He's a pretty good engine builder. He's just a phone call away. If I ever have any questions, I shoot him a text and he calls me. I also run Fred's transmissions throughout the year. That's Davey Chapman and Casey Smith and Chance Smith, Smith Metal Works.
What was the transmission?
What's that?
Davey's transmission business. I missed the name of it.
Fred's Transmissions.
Fred's?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, they're out in Ohio.
All right.
But like I said, I use all his transmissions. And Smith Metal Works, I use all their bumpers and gas pedals, shifters, brake pedals. A lot of their equipment I use. Catskill, I got some of his transmission coolers. I never really had the bigger transmission coolers. I bought those a couple years ago. Been running those since. And then Jeffy Fab Farm, I got a lot of my Camry parts from him for all my Camrys. Then Lemont Customs, I run his brake and gas pedals,
right.
Shifters. And Simple Solutions. Was kind of new into the street stock cars this year. Didn't really have a clue what was going on. And talked to Sickles, and he he told me to get a hold of Robbie for some of the wiring harnesses. That's what I did. So big shout out to him. He definitely helped me out a lot with that. And 03 Nation steering. I got the Hydro steering on all my Crown Vics. Pretty nice setup. If you don't have one, I suggest getting one.
Sure.
You can turn that with one finger. It's pretty nice. And a lot of my parts, I ordered a lot of stuff from NERAT and NLR. Them guys are pretty fast with shipping and whatnot.
They sure are. It helps a ton. It helps a ton when you've got somebody that's got almost essentially the Demolition Derby Walmart and their trailer, and pretty much anything you need, you can go to a one stop and find it, like the way that Mavis and NLR have been able to put together.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I wish you can place an order tonight and have it probably within 2 days. I mean, no problem at all.
So when we were talking, Les, is there anybody else that you wanted to make mention of?
I mean, I couldn't do it without my mother. Dennis Hogan, he's a pretty big part into it. My buddy Shane, them guys all helped out a lot with building cars and stripping cars. I mean, it was nonstop all year.
Your mom is a huge part of your Derby team. When last time we talked, she was out picking up Crown Vics, right?
She was actually out picking up some Camrys for me.
Camrys, okay.
Yeah, I was working, and she got off a little bit early, and she don't really back the trailer up too much. As long as she can pull in and get a straight shot, she's good to go.
Right. And how'd you end up doing with that Camry? Have you run it yet, or is that something that's still sitting at the shop?
No, I actually ran that car 2 times out in Preble County, I believe. I won both nights with it, and then we took it out for the cleanup show, and Dennis Hogan got second place with it.
That's awesome. The season, how did it end up shaping up? Before we lost you there, we were talking a little bit about July and taking over the points lead, and then the season sort of took on a personality of its own. And some drivers, they wait to see where the cards fall and how things are going to go, and if they get hot, they end up sticking with a series or a particular track or points or whatever. In your case, it was the middle of the season when then that one win seemed to be the turning point, and things were off to the races from there. How intense was that chase, and is that something that, if you're given the opportunity, would you do it again?
I mean, it was pretty intense. The last couple of years I talked about wanting to try to do it. I just, the first year I was way too late in the game to try. The second year I made one attempt to go out of state and run. I think I got 9th place that year. And then we decided to give it a shot this year. We wanted to try a couple new places out to run. We went down to Daytona, ended up scoring 10 points there, and I went to a few other shows and started scoring points, and I think we was like top 4. I was wanted to settle for like top 3 and just get a ring, but we jumped in first place, and my mom and I was heading back from Derby, and I was like, what's the sense of settling for top 3? Might as well just go for first if we can.
Right.
That's what we tried to do, and we stuck with it.
And it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of effort, time, and money, obviously,
Have you ever built that many cars in a single season before?
Absolutely not.
No.
I could honestly, I can't even tell you how many cars we've built and ran. Like I said, it got to the point where we needed to run some street stock full-size cars, and I had a Crown Vic from down south I bought, and we took it off the road and stripped it out and ran a street stock show with it.
And you were saying street stock stuff isn't really your cup of tea?
Absolutely not. No, it's a little too stock for me, but we made it work. They are pretty fun. I mean, you can throw them together in a couple of days and go out and have some fun.
It would seem to me, if you're going to follow the point series, that you're going to be better served trying to find those loopholes with those events where they're giving points for the street stock stuff, because you can put them together so quickly. But the long-term cost is something that you have to measure. You're going to have to replace that car after potentially just one run. Is it easier necessarily to build the street stock car if you're going to be chasing the points and running the compacts and stuff, or is it easier to put together a couple of the heavier cars knowing that you're going to get more runs out of it?
I mean, like I said, I like the heavier cars myself, but if you're going to chase the points, I like to mix it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, the street stock Camrys and a little bit bigger build of a Camry, we was knocking those out between 2 and 4 days.
Right.
Where to our big cars, me and Dennis can build one, and our Florida car, we built that car in 16 days.
Wow.
That was pretty quick, but that was every day after work. We both work anywhere from 8 to 12-hour days.
Jeepers.
And go straight to the garage.
You got to want it, I suppose, right?
Just like Mark says, how bad do you really want it?
Yep. I know.
That's how I look at it.
For sure. We're gonna get some of the technical bugs worked out on our end so that we can spend a little bit more time with you. I know you've got to get off to that dinner tonight, so I don't want to keep you. If you got to run, go ahead by all means. But if you got anybody else you want to make mention of here, as we look towards, looking ahead to what the next season might hold, this would be a great time. Or I do have a couple more questions for you. You got to tell me what your schedule is like.
I got probably about 40 minutes still. We're just making dinner here at the garage. We got some friends coming over.
I got you.
So.
All right. Well, I did want to ask you. You were talking about the Crown Vics and the concerns about running out of those, and they're seemingly so plentiful. Is it to the point where Crown Vics are getting hard to find because it's hard to find good, clean Crown Vics? Are there still cars around? Or is it tough to find them because people are taking the control arms off of the old ones and leaving the front end alone? Or what's the situation with that? Because it's one of the first times I've heard of somebody trying to stockpile the Crown Vics because we might run out of them along the same veins or the Shockers or the old 225s or the Caddies or things like that. So I just wanted to know a little bit more about what you're seeing.
In my area, I'm 10 minutes away from Ohio, about 15 from West Virginia, but everything in my area is pretty rusty, and I will not run a rusty car unless it's a little car. I will do that. But the big cars, like I said, they're all rusty around my area. You can't really buy them out of junkyards. So we go down south and buy 3 or 4 at a time and bring them back, get them stripped out, and we stack them behind the garage or put them down at the farm. But like I said, they're starting to get a little bit harder to find down south. A lot of the junkyards crushed out last year whenever scrap was high. Then, and you get derby guys that go down and buy them. And then you got some people that drive them here and there on the road. But like I said, stuff's getting a little bit harder to find down that way.
Have you got one on the road now?
I do. I bought it's a 83 or 84 Crown Vic.
Yeah. It was a Crown Vic, or was it a?
It's a real nice car.
It was a Crown Vic, or was it a Lincoln?
Crown Vic, and I had a Lincoln, but I had to take that one off the road too.
Oh, okay. So that's the one that ended up coming off the road, and you ended up derbying that one.
Yeah, well, there was actually 2 of them, but yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, because when we were talking earlier, I got the cars confused myself. But anyway, that's still a cool story in its own right. And I remember bumping into your mom, and she was so proud that she ended up tracking down another Crown Vic to pick up and brought that home in addition to the Camrys and stuff. And she was a great character to finally put a face with the name. And she's a huge part of what you guys do down there with that derby operation.
Oh yeah, she was already on me wanting to do it next year, but I'm not sure what the game plan is. Maybe end up in top 10. You just never know. You see what happens.
Well, it sounds like a good strategy to me. Go out there and hit a couple early, and if you can build some momentum, you might better chase it. Because like you said, it's nice to have a goal of top 3. Once you get into the top 3, your goals are going to change, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, we haven't really stopped too much. We've been nonstop building cars still. We got a round back wagon in the garage right now. Then
Really?
Dennis got a 90s Lincoln body inside with a 9802 frame inside for the bash.
Nice.
So we haven't really slowed down too much. And like I said, all these cars I keep bringing back, I've been trying to get them stripped out as I bring them back. So we've been pretty busy.
In terms of the youth movement that you saw on the series, do you think that somebody like Cam Penwell or Scotty Drevenek, as driven as they are, they've got a really good support system around them with tons of derby experience and stuff. Do you think that one of those drivers could pop up and surprise everybody and take not just the top 3 with the overall championship?
It's possible. I talked to Scotty a good bit on the Snapchat and text message here and there.
Right.
I know his parents pretty well. They're really nice people. He's definitely got some skill, and he can definitely drive the car. I haven't really talked to Penwell too much. He's bought a wagon off me. But his kids also got some pretty good skill, and they both got very good equipment. So it wouldn't shock me if they would definitely jump up there.
Awesome. Well, man, I appreciate your time and coming and hanging out with us here for a little while. Enjoy the party at the shop, and by all means, keep in touch. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we'll get some of the bugs worked out, and we'll talk a little bit more once you have a chance to kind of survey what the schedule looks like for next year.
Like I said, next year we was planning on. We wanted to go down to Daytona, but that got canceled.
Yeah.
So
It's one of those things.
yeah, right. Yeah, we was definitely planning on that, but we just didn't. Got canceled, so we pulled that car out of the garage.
And think of, real quick, just to kind of double back on it, I'm really surprised how tough it's been for Demolition Derby in February to get traction down there. There's been a number of different promoters, a number of different dates, a number of different facilities, and it's still, even though it has the season destination look to it, it's having trouble maintaining the momentum. You'll get a big push and a lot of interest, and then it seems to plateau. And it's not just the onus isn't just on the drivers and on the promoters. There's conflicts and challenges that you're dealing with the venue halls and that ownership group down there, or the ownership groups down there also wanting to change things and tweak things, and for some reason it just has not been able to gain the traction that I would hope that it would. It seemed like last year's show was great. I was down there for the one indoors over near Tampa with Iron City when they had the indoor show. That was a great show. They've had some challenges with outdoor stuff. It just doesn't, for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem to be able to maintain and sustain the traction.
Right. Yeah, it all depends, like the area. I mean, our area was pretty big for a lot of heavier build cars. I'd say probably about 6 or 7 years ago.
Right.
And things have just lightened up a lot. I mean, my hometown fair, we would usually get between 15 to 25 cars Tuesday night, and then a little bit more Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of, last year I think we only had like 7 cars the first night. Then the second night I think we had about 15.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it's kind of just, all depends on everybody's schedule too.
Time to start selling Camrys and buying minivans.
I got a couple of those minivans. Man, they hurt whenever you run those. I was not a real big fan of that.
Awesome. Well, man, I do appreciate you hanging with us and helping persevere through this so that we could catch up with you for a few minutes. And like I said, we'll work on getting some of those bugs worked out, and we'll catch up with you again here real soon, okay?
All right, sounds good. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man. We'll talk to you soon. Congratulations on the win.
Problem.
We'll see you later.
Thank you. I appreciate it. See ya.
There goes JD Laurine. We got another break we're going to roll into real quick. I'm going to get Steven Sickles on the line. We're going to talk with Steven, the 2021 Unified Point Series champion. And he's got all sorts of new ventures going in addition to Demolition Derby stuff. So check out these great partners, and we will be right back. RPM Group is a progressive waste management business serving nearly 4,000 residents and businesses around Owego, New York. RPM Group can take care of all your waste management needs. Boasting a fleet of 2 roll-offs and 6 garbage trucks, RPM is fully insured and ready to serve. Ask about asbestos abatement and surveys, interior and exterior demolition, private parties and foreclosures, curbside trash and recycling, all that and more. Click or call, ask for Corey, tell him you heard about him here at the Crash Course Nationals, rpmgroupny.com, or 607-223-8714. Demolition Derby Life magazine releases 12 copies a year and covers all of the action coast to coast for the Demolition Derby world, home of the hottest action motorsports magazine on the market. There's over 30 editions that have been published to date. A full year subscription is $119, and past issues are available. They should be coming out with another release here in the coming weeks. Make sure you jump online and follow along. Find out more about Lexi Droz and everything going on with Demolition Derby Life magazine on demolitionderbylife.com.
Where'd you go?
We did the derby.
Ow, my head! You went to a derby?
Hey Derby World, this is All For Him Racing Videos, where Derby never ends. We have people come up and ask, what is All For Him Racing Videos? And the answer is a YouTube channel dedicated to growing the sport of demolition derby in a positive and fun way. Our passion is to show the next generation the sport and capture the memories for generations to come. We're just trying to show that you can be a Christian, do crazy and exciting things like Demolition Derby and just spread the word. We have traveled all over the country filming events, all while meeting many great people, hearing amazing stories, seeing the passion for this sport, and falling in love with the Derby community. We have grown to be the largest Demolition Derby channel on YouTube across the world, with millions of views within our large library of videos. We love what we do and can't wait for what the future has in store. We always want to be a place for positive, exciting, and action-packed Derby videos. Thank you, Derby World, and enjoy the videos.
And we are back on episode number 423. Steven Sickles is joining us here on the line. Steven's kind of got some plans already coming together for 2023 and the rest of 2022, what few days we've got left in it. But it's across all sorts of Demolition Derby interest. Steven, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up?
Hey. So, congratulations again on the great season. It was a fun battle to watch there through the middle of the summer, and then everybody started trading points, and JD ended up getting away with it. But I couldn't help but notice that one of the first names as the registered drivers, and Mark Elliott made reference to this last week when he was on the show, was Steven Sickles. So, is 2023 going to be the return tour for the 911 car?
I don't know. I didn't really go that far, but I don't feel that. Right now, I'm not committed in that way. I'm just more invested in the fact that I'm definitely going to run some of the shows, and I don't plan on losing, so I might as well try and get some points.
Right. But, I mean, we just talked about that with JD, and we talked about that with Ty back at the beginning of the year, and then Trevor Jones kind of the same way as, you go and you say, well, we're just going to go and see what happens. I don't want to be committed that way. And then all of a sudden, a couple dominoes fall your way. You're up on top in points, and it's almost hard to not go. It's almost like there's a gravitational pull that when you're up there in top, as long as you can defend it and sustain it, you've got an opportunity of bringing home some serious money at the end of the year. It's a tough tease.
Yeah, and I think the point series brings out the drivers that they have the same mentality. You don't go run a derby want to lose, so you're there to try and not even score points, but winning scores points. And I might as well try and get some of the benefits, whether I try to go for first or whether I try to go just be in the top 10, as JD said earlier.
And talking with JD, he was talking about the number of cars he was cranking out. You've produced a high volume of cars for the last several years. That almost isn't even news anymore. The way that you guys churn those cars out, and it's all walks of cars too. But when you're putting out cars that fast, when you're putting out that many different cars that fast, does it come to a point where it gets easier? Not so much that it's easier to put the cars together, but just it almost becomes, to take a cliche from NASCAR, it almost becomes cookie cutter. You know that these are the things that work for this car. It advances your learning curve. You can crank this thing out more quickly because you've just moved the volume of seat time and the amount of shop time that you've put together, that it just makes it easier to crank these things out because you can just make almost a checklist and a template and rip those things out.
I got to agree with that. And I got to also say that, I've always been the type that I do better building the car up until the end. That way there's less chance of something that I forgot about or I didn't think about, and everything just seems to fall into place correctly when I'm a procrastinator. And sometimes it works to your benefit. You're just going to have a lot of late nights and a lot of stress right before the show.
So you work better under that stress?
I would say so, for sure.
Is that why you do so well in the demolition derbies and the features and everything as well? As it just comes down to it's a job and this is your stress and you've got to make it work?
I think the demolition derby part I love is the stress goes away when I'm in the car. So I am stressed until I'm in that car, in that arena, and then it just goes away. I think the stress prepares me, but then I just do my thing on my own. I don't know.
All right. So the stress prepares you. Let me ask a question about that. The stress prepares you at the shop. At the last minute, you get the car loaded up. You know, we've seen all the headaches about changing transmissions and rear ends and all the stuff the drivers go through. Does the stress level get higher yet when you go through tech inspection, or does that sort of plateau when the car's on the trailer and all the building is done?
It completely depends on the build and the show.
Yeah.
These lighter builds, normally inspection goes pretty easy, but once you start getting into a little bit heavier stuff, it's very easy for you and another individual to have two different interpretations of the same thing. So that can be stressful for sure.
It would strike me that it's not necessarily a fun thing to do in terms of asking the questions for the different shows. It almost seems like you need some sort of color codified system so that you know what cars for what and what questions with who. And you know, we all know that the Demolition Derby drivers, when they ask questions, they save their answers. So, I mean, you got to have folders on your phone almost to just kind of keep everything straight when you're in the throes of the summer.
Oh yeah, I have binders and I have notes, and I'm big into the taking notes and making sure I can look back and see what was what.
I think that is one of the things that is lost on some of the younger generation, how much note-taking and how much attention to detail there really goes into it if you want to make a focused effort in Demolition Derby. Whether you're chasing unified points or not, you really got to have a good notebook, just like anybody else in motorsports, really. You know, you talk about the drivers who fell back on set of notes from 2012 or for whatever reason because the track conditions were similar. They've got these binders and they talk about gearing changes and tire changes. It's sort of the same thing that you get into with Demolition Derby. You might not be traveling with the same setup book necessarily, but the same idea applies.
Yeah, and for a lot of the light builds, I keep like I just made a real basic build sheet that just has the general ideas of every car, and I make sure that I hit all of them too. So taking notes and keeping copy of everything definitely helps, especially when you're rushing at the end. Make sure you did everything.
Is it mostly Crown Vics in that book?
No, a lot of camera. Well, my build sheet's the same. It can be adapted because I have like it'll just say like body and have like 10 open lines. I literally just make it in like Notepad. It's pretty simple.
Nice.
But what I'll do is I'll sit down before every build and I'll print out the rules and I'll look at the rules, and as I'm going through the rules, I'll apply them to everything on my build sheet. Then I'll go through my build sheet and see if anything's missed and go back to the rules and see if I can find where that was in there or in there. And then I know what to do.
So I got to ask you, with that attention to detail, are you printing off rules? I've seen the 2021 Unified Points Champion skin starting to show up on some of the BeamNG Derby web pages and Facebook pages, and pictures of they're being posted by one Steven Sickles. And I hope to God that there's not two of them out there, because we could be in real trouble. But is this the same attention to detail that you're putting into building your BeamNG cars now that you are part of the virtual Demolition Derby world as well?
So I'm pretty new to it. I haven't ran any shows that have any rules. We've just been running the fun runs, the run what you brung rules.
Yep.
So the builds are actually way more in depth than I thought. So I mean, pretty much my sheet's looking like a drag down menu on RDP.
Right.
But I haven't got to the rules yet. I did have a couple friends that have made me some skins. I'd like to do that. I used to do some of the graphic stuff. I have no idea about coding and transferring any of that.
Right.
So that's the learning curve I'm in the middle of trying to figure out. But I'm impressed with the game. I'm impressed with the physics within the game, and the options that people have made available to anyone to just play.
It's fantastic. You know, the amount of stuff.
Definitely not what I expected. So I've been putting it off for years. I've never had a PC that could play it.
Right. So did you end up finding one? I mean, I know we had talked.
Yeah, I bought
middle
one
November.
on Cyber Monday or whatever, and there's a SkyTech gaming PC. I don't remember all the specs. I'd asked 2 or 3 guys I knew had messed with it, and they told me that was a great PC, a good deal. Well, then I ordered it off Amazon on Cyber Monday, and all of a sudden the thing wasn't coming.
Uh-oh.
So then I was like, oh, man, they put this good deal up, and then they don't even have the computers built, but it finally came. So
Good deal.
I started 1 week ago I got my computer.
Wow, that did take some time, didn't it?
No. So now waiting to come on a show, I was actually toying around with my car on one screen and watching you guys on the other.
We were fighting uphill a little bit, but then we just kind of went back to the idea of keeping it simple and went the old way of communicating with our guest, and we'll call it good this way. But you're venturing into some of the podcast stuff as well with the I don't want to mess up the title. It's Revved Up Podcast, right?
Revved Up Garagecast.
Revved Up Garagecast.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, initially it's just a plan to have some fun with two of my best friends, and that's what it started out with. And then as soon as we got the equipment, we did one show by ourselves just to introduce ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the people that are waiting to get on podcasts and waiting to get on have their voices heard. I'm sure you've had a lot of people who want to be on your show, and I'm nowhere near that, but people want to talk about Derby, and I don't think there's any negative to it unless you're putting people down. I mean, obviously you can't do that, but
there are a lot of hurdles to Demolition Derby not being able to make it to mainstream. There's a lot of those discussions, but that doesn't mean that Demolition Derby as a whole should be tearing each other down, and it doesn't mean that Demolition Derby should be working against itself. So any opportunity that is out there for people to talk about Demolition Derby and bring it into the forefront of the conversation and give drivers the attention that they deserve and the opportunity to be the celebrities and rock stars that they have been at their hometown fairs is always going to be good for Demolition Derby, and I will fight you to the end if you want to argue the point. You know what I mean? Tell me I'm wrong, right?
I mean, every step of the way, too, Alex Vasquez helped me. And, I mean, he's into a lot of the same things. And I'm, like I said, I have way too many things on my plate. I bought a camera to try and record some derbies when people can't. So if Alex can't make it to my local show, I might give someone $50 and say, hey, you want to record this derby? Just so drivers can get it seen. Because I hate driving in a car and then be like, man, I can't find a video of my run anywhere.
Right. Right.
So I literally am going that far as to trying to figure stuff out when people aren't there that are way better at it than me. I'm no tech guy, so.
Well, the computer that you've got a couple different options of that, and I was watching the show and talking a little, just kind of making mental notes of the equipment that you had on your table. You've got stuff on the table where you could stream a virtual derby, connect to somebody else, and you could stream a derby, and you could do the conversation with the rest of the cast from the Revved Up Garage cast and talk about the derby that's happening in front of you.
So that's Revved Up Promotions is coming out.
There you go.
No. Yeah, I need to learn that. My buddy Mark, actually, that is part of Revved Up Garage cast, is a lot better with computers than me, and he's been playing on PC a little bit longer.
Right.
So he's going to look into doing the hosting soon, but I see Prodigy Gaming with Seeger. He gets a lot of people watching, and I mean, like you said, it's good for the sport.
Yep. Yeah, I was always stunned when I would do Blizzard Bash with RDP or help with Alliance or stuff like that, or even when Jesse would run the stuff for the Crash Course shows and I would do the commentary on the Crash Course Games feed. The people that would stick with it, even through the downtimes of resetting the track and everything and getting the extra cars out there, it would be a really impressive amount of people. And the more people that are watching and you're able to engage with and have that conversation and make it personal to them, they're going to hang around. And it's, I mean, there's a guy named Rob Oswalt that I don't believe I've ever met him in person. His name's P.A. Slayer, and I met him through Lee's place. And we've been friends for a long time now. And it's just purely been because of playing a video game. And it's just it's another way, just like RC derbies or just like model car demolition derby building and stuff like that. It's just another way for the community to get a little bit smaller and a little bit closer.
So I'm new to Discord and all this, and Discord's the way you communicate pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I've only had my PC for a week. I probably have 100 derby drivers that have added me and are friends with me on there now.
Right.
And people that I never knew played. I mean, I'm there. I got to roll Iceman, I think, or little freebie.
Right.
He was playing. I got TJ McCullough texting me like, hey, we're waiting for you to get on. And I'm like, I'm not even home. But it's been a blast. And I look forward to trying to get to tinker with it and I'm going to take you up on you teaching me some here soon.
I'm more than happy to help you. Whatever you need, man. It's an open door for any of it. If you need anything, just ask. I'm happy to help.
I do want to give a shout out. Teddy Bowers from Hardcore Derby Promotions. He's like Frankie's right-hand man.
Yep.
He helped me through all this. I wouldn't even be able to figure out how to download all this initially. So he was a huge help. Thanks, Teddy.
So Teddy's a good dude. I feel a little bit of Teddy's dedication trying to help somebody, because we were able, if you can believe this, we were able to walk Brian through getting into this for a short time. He was on his laptop at home, and it was we were using very primitive terms like, now push the big rectangle button, trying to get him to a point where he could do it. But he did it. He was in it, and he got to run, and that was back when
we
the
need to get some of the people back into it, because I see like Sean McCullum from down he's from down south. I saw my stuff had an issue and I just never got it fixed. Get it fixed. Let's play.
Right. There's a lot of variability to what needs to be fixed and what can be fixed. Like when Beam has some of these updates, it really changes stuff, and you got to go through slow and step by step and a methodical, intentional process to get it fixed. And same thing with Fairgrounds, which is how you play against AI. When Beam doesn't update often, it'll knock the AI functionality off for a little bit until they get a chance to work out the new bugs and stuff like that. So you just can't give up on it too fast. Just be patient with it and let it go. And in worst case scenario, there's somebody out there in Discord land that's got it fixed, and you can just go play with them.
Yeah, I got to download the Mini Mania still. I think I have Fairgrounds. I have LSP.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who does LSP, but they're pretty into it. I can't believe, another thing I want to mention, if there's any product guys out there that don't have their parts on this game, reach out to someone and get your parts into this game. There's so many people seeing stuff that they just don't take advantage of that advertisement and that customization. We lose that into the cars as well.
There is, and those parts that get customized, especially when they're parts that are introduced specifically through RDP. The parts that are introduced through RDP have functionality to them. They have different weight, they have different mass, they have different deformation characteristics and stuff like that. So these parts do different things. So right now, the Fab Farm engine was introduced. If I'm not mistaken, I believe a Fushi engine is going to be coming down the line, and there's been some discussion with transmission manufacturers about getting transmissions introduced. So the transmissions are going to have...
I think there's some Coke-built engines, too.
Yeah, Coke's got power plants in there. Yep.
Coke Performance how cool would it be there to hop on and you're able to choose Redline, Baldwin, Guard, Coke, Fab Farm, whoever. I mean, that would be awesome.
Well, I mean, yes, but you also have to make sure that those people agree that there's a value to it, because there is work that needs to go into that, and it's not an expensive advertisement, and it's a forever investment. You throw a couple $100 on the table, and your parts are going to be in the game until the parts are no longer in the game. It's going to be in there for in perpetuity, but they have to also agree that there's a value to doing that. And if they're not agreeing to do that on the advertising side of things, then it's not going to be as part of the official release right away.
Oh, absolutely. What I can say to them guys that don't think that there's a value, the amount of youth drivers that are big name drivers, kids that are on this game.
Yep.
Who do you think they're going to want to buy? You think they're going to like the motor that they played for 6 years of their childhood with? Or, I mean, there's definitely a lot of good advertisement, in my opinion.
I agree completely. You will not get me to disagree. I was talking with Jesse earlier today, and I've got a short list of people that I wanted to get him in touch with to try and get some other stuff rolling here at the start of the year. So it's very good, and I'm glad that you're on there and that you're finding people to run with, and we'll get the rest of that stuff straightened out for you pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. Like, I want to get a revved up skin for our garage cast. I mean, it's 10 people a night when you play are going to see it, and then especially if you stream or play in a tournament or a derby that's a pay to enter or whatever, I mean, you're going to get publicity.
Right on. Well, we're getting up to the 7 o'clock hour. We're going to get everything buttoned up here. If you're going to be on around 8, I'll jump on there and help you with some of those challenges if you're going to be around.
I should be on tonight. Tonight's my game night.
All right, very good. Fantastic. Well, Steven, man, it's always great catching up with you. We look forward to seeing what comes in 2023. And congratulations on the revved up Garage Cast and the success. And I'm glad you're able to get that the PC up and running. And I look forward to catching up with you online soon.
Sounds good, Chris. As always, thanks for having me.
Of course, we'll catch up with you.
Okay.
See you now. There goes Steven Sickles. We got a board meeting. Hey Nate, if you're not doing anything later, give up on Call of Duty for a night and jump on Discord with us.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
You should.
I just got one quick thing, Chris. Scott Drevenick, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, in the Facebook comments, who would someone reach out to get their parts on the game?
I can help facilitate that. Is that Scotty or Scott?
Scott.
I'll send him a message when we get wrapped up here.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you're gonna want to get a hold of. We want to message through the RDP page. Is what you're gonna want to do. Realistic Derby Project on Facebook. Message them. You can also have good luck getting a hold of Jesse Myers. Right now, he's on vacation, so you're not going to be able to get him right away. But you can certainly try to get a hold of Jesse Myers. But if you send a message to the RDP page, someone will be able to give you a hand in terms of facilitating that. And Scotty, I know Scotty and I know Scott both. I can get a hold of them once the show gets over with. I'll send them a message. But that is going to do it for this one. 423 is in the books. We appreciate you tuning in. Brian, you can see the open chair. He wasn't here, unfortunately. He's was possibly going to be here, possibly not. Keith wasn't having a great day as he's recovering from that stroke, so Brian wasn't able to make it. So well wishes out to them. Happy New Year to everybody. We will see you again next week. It's going to be we got a basketball game next Monday on, let's see, that's going to be January the 2nd. So we'll be back on the 3rd of January for the first show of 2023. We look forward to seeing everybody then. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching.
The Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.